Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing? All right. It's great to see everyone's shiny faces out there, see so many friends and colleagues and what I call froligs, which you'll hear about later. And Bill, I'm sorry, I'm going to talk a little bit about triple bottom line, but I'm going to talk about it as a power of three, because I think it's really important. And I think for me, running nonprofit organizations where you have a lot of business leaders on your boards, you really realize that sometimes we're talking a lot to ourselves, but a lot in business, people are not doing and not practicing what they can and what they can do. So I want to talk a little bit about that. And that's sort of my topic today, is to talk about what does it mean to be a hero or shero. And Maya Angelou says that people live in direct relation with their heroes and sheroes. It means they're people that are right next to us. So, and in diversity, there's beauty and there's strength. So it's people we know, it's people we admire from afar. It's celebrities, it's our neighbors, it's our partners, it's our educators, it's our students. Those are our heroes and sheroes. It's the person maybe right next to you. And if you haven't met them, just turn and smile at them and you can talk to them later. Smiles are free, as I always tell young people. Smiles are free. All right. So I believe this happens through the power of three. Every company, every family, every community, every university can ascribe to this. And it's thinking about people, planet, and prosperity. But not just thinking about it as a business principle, but thinking about it as a way of life embedded in the One Planet principles. People make this possible through their influence, through their courage, through their diversity, and through their push for change. We can't be afraid to be the change we must see in the world. The planet, we already heard 5-1. Without our planet, okay, we're screwed. That's not very ladylike or politic, but it's true. So we have to think about how we can make these principles work. Prosperity, we have to make a living, and in order to have these principles be sustained, they have to make sense. They have to be affordable, and they have to be scalable at some level. It's no margin or no mission, right? It's betting on this trifecta of people, planet, and prosperity, and believing in that we can all win. So we can just no longer stand by with just two of the outcomes and believe we made it to the finish line, a winner based on monetary results and despite our environmental and our people impact. I learned most of what I know by my 20-plus years as the founder and CEO of the Youth Leadership Institute. These young people across the nation working in their communities to create change through action and then solidifying it through policy changes and champions that make the work stick. They also taught me something that I'm going to ask you to engage with me right now, is that we all have to have our power pose. So everybody gets to pick their power pose. Your power pose can be this. You can stand if you're going to do this one because then it's going to give you a lot of power. It's going to be this, or it's going to be this, all right? So everybody either stand up or sit down and pick your power pose. 1, 2, 3, go. Come on, you can do it. All you have to do is raise your arm if you haven't done it. All right, give yourselves a round of applause. So when things get hard, when things are being challenged, when we don't get that round of funding we're looking for, when our project's just having challenges and isn't working, when somebody lets us down, either internally or physically, strike your power pose. And remember that you can do this. Earlier this week, I had the great pleasure of being a mentor for the San Francisco Business Times for young women professionals. There was over 200 young women in this room. And there was about 50 mentors in a very big U-shape in a room about this size. And these young women came sort of in a speed dating style to seek advice, counsel, and to make connections. Surprisingly, to my joy, the line for learning about social impact business, B corporations, and nonprofits was the longest line in the room. And this isn't because of me. Maybe a little, no, it's not. It's not because of me. It's because these young people are hungry in their business to make a difference. And they followed and believed in the zeitgeist that is happening right now in this world. So by sharing our models together, our strategies, our solutions, by hearing from the amazing lineup of speakers that we have here, and by sitting next to a person who you didn't even know had such depth and such wisdom that could help you move forward and iterate. We can continue to get better. Like Cher and Madonna, and I guess now Miley Cyrus, and a few unnamed billionaires who seem to be running for office, we can reinvent ourselves. It's such an exciting time. I want to take a moment and talk about the work of a would-be hero and Shero in the context of some of the One Planet principles. Where are the places that after you leave here tonight, or tomorrow, or next week, or 6 months from now, when you're sort of having this vague memory of being in the beautiful county of Sonoma at this beautiful conference with these beautiful people, learning something? When you go home to your families, or you meet with your supply chain providers, or your employees, how do you challenge them to take that next step around waste reduction, around water and resource conservation, food access, transportation, living in built environments, and the easiest but hardest to refrain and retrain ourselves in, reducing our consumerism? Let's just look at a few things. What's the number one thing on there? Health and happiness. Wow, we all want that, right? So how do we foster a sense of community? How do we build a healthy community? One is by being in community. You know, it's funny, every couple months I see new happiness research, and it all says the same thing, which is we're happy when we're in relation with people that we share values with, that we care about, and that we connect with. So no matter what we're doing in our work, we need to build those connections, and we need to show our vulnerabilities. We need to build that strength in that inner circle. We need to share our power pose with people. We're here today to build community, to learn, to have a renewed sense of purpose, to recharge our batteries. We took time out of our busy lives to be here. And some of you are experts beyond my wildest imagination, and I would just love to take your brains and put them inside mine. And know what you know, the visionary leaders, the John Statons of the world, who created a context for young people to learn this and institutional. It's mind-boggling. What I just heard on this stage already, I'm like, okay, I want to talk to him and him and him and him, right? Because it's so important. What we do matters. That is true, you know, because what we do matters. Because out in the world, there's also damn, which is dudes who are arrogant with money, right? So we need to figure out, how do we fight that with our madness? And in prosperity, how do we look at equity and our local economy? The majority of the folks that are here today are living and working in this region in all kinds of industries. How do we support one another? How do we hire one another? How do we supply from one another? How do we help drive these economies, not just with our lip service, but with our actions? We do this by building a mosaic with the power of three. We have to lead the people and the planet part to get to the prosperity, and we have to do it through action. How many people here today, by a show of hands, have a job or a project through someone they know? Maybe you met them on LinkedIn, maybe you met them on a tour, maybe you met them at a conference, maybe you met them in the supermarket. And then you connect around your values. And then the magic happens, right? At least most of the time. Sometimes it does. Opposites, you know, the adage is that opposites attract, except at work. Likes attract at work. Why? Because we need our values to undergird the hard work that we're doing and our principles to align us. So in the work toward One Planet goals, who we are matters. How we act, how we behave, how we engage, how we trust, and how we move forward. We have to leave room to fail forward, because it's not all gonna work, because it's hard. Sometimes people let us down or mislead us, right, for their own purposes or power. But we have to continue to gravitate to the light. Much like Star Wars, there's Luke Skywalker and there's Darth Vader, right? So all of you have to be the Luke. And I forget the new young woman who's Luke's daughter, but her, be her too. Our heroes and Sheroes. Don't be Darth Vader. One time he was good, so maybe he'll get good again, who knows? There's a crowdfunding platform that I've recently come upon, which I love, and it's called Everyday Hero. It suggests that each of us, one by one, can support causes that we care about, creating a collective good. I want to challenge everyone here to be that everyday hero or Shero, sharing your time, sharing your talents, sharing your treasures, investing in companies, taking a risk, making sure your commitment to the power of three is the lens in which you live your life. How do we all strive as professionals to make a living, not a killing? Unlike our brothers and sisters in some industries and sectors who are focused on the next WhatsApp or Snapchat or acquisition, on the road to the get-rich life and satisfying our egos and our shareholders, many of us here are for a larger benefit, that triple benefit, and maybe that damn madness too. We're so fortunate to have so many companies in our region, all of whom you see sponsoring today, who are our heroes and sheroes. Let's give them a round of applause. It's the B corporations who've built into their DNA a social ROI. Being a teacher and a guest lecturer at many business schools in the area, I can tell you it's what millennials and startup leaders and people who are trying to think differently care about. It's companies like Pulpworks, a leader in sustainable packaging, who's here today. I had the pleasure of meeting Paul Tasner a couple weeks ago with my friend Kathleen from City National Bank. We were at the San Francisco Chronicle event, and he was honored as a visionary leader, someone who's revolutionizing packaging. Like, wow, what a hero. Thank you, Paul, for that work you do. It's amazing. But people, as you go around and you see the exhibitors, and you get the cool bag that's made out of banners, by the way, very cool, thank those people for who they are, for having the courage to align their values with their business practices and to put it out there in the world. Because any of you who have ever done anything where you're taking something to market, it's very hard. And so we need to support each other. I want to highlight an important organization that I, until recently, had the amazing privilege to lead, and that's Goodwill. At Goodwill, they're not only striving to create value by providing a second or third life to the generous donations of many folks in this room like you, so thank you for that. They're doing all of this in the service to train the most marginalized folks in our communities and help them get back to work, creating thousands and thousands of jobs. Last year, almost 300,000 people were put back to work by Goodwill across the country. But they take it one step further. They're one of the best-kept secrets in the environmental movement. Millions of pounds of textiles, electronics, plastics, and other things that are discarded into our waste streams come through and to Goodwill. And they take it responsibly. They create jobs out of it, and they do it with a knowing that the mission is part of the reason, that the only reason that they do it. But they also are just having a tremendous impact. They're using less and serving more. So I have some colleagues here, friends and colleagues from there, and I just want to give them a shout out and thank them for their amazing work. Yay! So let's face it, on the community and culture side, we've won the geographic lottery. Arguably one of the most beautiful regions in the West, if not in the world, we get to call home. So we are so fortunate to have our companies building models, emulating others, having others emulate us in what we do. You know, there's not a company in dairy that's not looking at Strauss Family Creamery. There's not anyone who's not looking at Gyaki. There's just nobody who's thinking about, in the industries that they're in, finding the leaders and the heroes and sheroes here. And we are so fortunate that we have them here. Food access. My friends at Revolution Foods down the road, starting a company by two moms who said, you know what, we've had enough of kids who are poor getting fed bad food. Strongly locally sourced in their markets across the U.S., they've just celebrated the 2 million meal mark at their company. So not only is it equitable, it's also sustainable. No more frozen meals with questionable ingredients flown thousands of miles to feed low-income kids. Chris and Keir, true sheroes. I recently joined the board of the Agricultural Institute of Marin. It's been so inspiring as an ascribed foodie. I call myself a foodie. I love some food. To serve an organization that brings food from farm to table with over 249 farmers, ranchers, purveyors, and artisans to a wide variety of markets in the region. These folks are true heroes and sheroes every day that they do their work. The folks at the Department of Environment in San Francisco, an amazing governmental leader nationally with their 0-50-100 campaign. They're committed by 2020 to have 0% of land to the landfill, 50% of trips outside of personal vehicles, and the smart train's really going to help with that for the folks in the North Bay, and 100% renewable energy across the city. This is so important, not just for San Francisco, but nationally and globally as leaders. This conference is filled with heroes and sheroes right next to you, connected and committed to community, bringing a bright present future, walking our talk, benefiting families, workplaces, economies, institutions, a true trifecta. So let's follow the advice of Maya Angelou, live in direct relation to our heroes and sheroes, and know them. We've all come together to learn and share and challenge and validate and grow our movement, but more importantly, our implementation strategies of how to do this, but to do it with people that we care about. This, my friends, is the year for all of us to be that hero, that shero, and to rock our power pose. So enjoy the day, meet as many pioneers, and mavens as you can, and never underestimate the power of 3. Thank you.